Hello everyone and welcome back to Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us. On today's review, I have a treat. This is the BGVP NS10pro. Let's get into it right away. BGVP has existed since approximately 2015 as one of those companies who put out really good gear, but seem to still garner a lower profile. They also don't produce as many new products every time someone sneezes like some more other notable names in the IEM industry. Those in the know, though, will be familiar with their products for sure, and they have what seems like a comparatively more focused approach to developing and producing IEMs than most others. One way BGVP sets themselves apart from many competitors is their openness in detailing who actually makes their driver components. They don't hide and say 10 balanced armatures, but you don't know where they're sourced from, where they came from. In the NS10pro, for example, they include balanced armature drivers from well-respected Knowles and Sonion manufacturers. They also go into detail to explain the driver tech behind each other, including their in-house developed modified balanced armature driver and combo dynamic planar driver. That's interesting. A combo for the base, they use a combination dynamic and planar driver in a single housing for the low end. To great effect, I might say. Additionally, a 3D printed internal frame structure housing the independent sound chambers for each of these sets of drivers is used to both isolate them and provide a tuning chamber customized for each. A lot of tech here. That's a lot of quality tech in an IM that costs just around $180 US. This is a shocker to me if you follow the IEM space. I say just because many other IEM manufacturers would charge significantly more under the same circumstances. In particular, with all the marketing fodder, all of this tech would actually produce. As I've said many times, implementation is king regardless of whatever tech is used. Thankfully, BGVP have done a masterful job in making all this gear work in a wonderfully cohesive audio way, to create a wonderfully cohesive audio experience. Take a nice look at it. All right. Now, bear with me here. There's a lot to go through in terms of the driver complement. There's 8 balanced armatures and 2 DDs, dynamic drivers per side. It includes dual diaphragm dynamic with an 8mm LCP diaphragm combined with a 6mm planar in a single housing. Very interesting. A combination of Sonion 2300 and custom NFK 80817 balanced armatures for the mid-range, a Knowles RAF BA for the treble, and finally, another interesting driver, a BGVP developed NFK 80817 dual composite driver, which are a refinement on existing 31736 and 30095 drivers for extended treble. All of that information for the techie obsessed of you out there. Again, all of this tech is kept under control and managed by a crossover. Actually, 2 types, if you would believe that. Definitely. There's a 4-way electronic crossover and a 3-way passive crossover, all built into this beautiful shell. I really do admire the technical skill of BGVP in bringing all of this together. That's what I meant when I said they do stand apart in companies producing these IEMs. Technology for a reason, for a purpose of better sound, rather than just technology to give fuel to marketing departments, for example. The NS10pro is easy to drive. That being said, it's a very resolving IEM and deserves a more capable source for the best synergy. I do recommend a warmer source with great detail retrieval as the best companion for this IEM. Don't skimp on tip rolling though. Recommended again to find that sound synergy for best performance. Tuning-wise, the NS10 Pro offers a balanced, moderately bright, neutral sonic presentation with great clarity, and I mean exceptional clarity. The NS10 Pro does ship with additional nozzles. I'll show you them right here. It does ship with 3 sets of nozzles, one short-stemmed, one longer, and one red. And does come in the box. They're very easy to screw off. I did the testing with the shorter. You just rotate it off as so. It comes off. Very easy to take off and put back on. To be honest, the effect of each is not that perceptible, even with measurements or through your ear. One of my fellow, on a side note, for the red nozzles, I don't know if you could see inside, you'll see an additional mesh filter. One of the members of the review group I'm part of, the Canuck Audioholics review group, a small group of dedicated Canadian music lovers who happen to review gear as well, did add a nozzle filter to this with great effect. What it did was it did reduce the upper mid-range forwardness and upper treble energy a bit, bringing out the bass energy even more, making the NS10 Pro even more balanced. That being said, it did not affect resolution nor detail. So big up Tone Deaf Monk for doing that. Let's move that here. I do have to tell you, though, that for the duration of this review, I used the stock short stem nozzles, which I found gave me the best sound of the stock nozzles for the duration of my listening and taking notes and evaluation. And these nozzles are stock. They have not been altered in any way. Let's talk about build and fit. Well, the NS10 Pro is very well built. The shell is constructed of aviation grade aluminum with an understated but elegant design. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on how this is. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. MMCX, some people may not like that, but no problem for me whatsoever. Nice looking IAM. It is on the larger size of medium, so and with just a very small nozzle prominence. As you can see here, the nozzle doesn't stick out much, in particular with the shorter screw-in nozzle sets. So fit should not be an issue. Tip rolling, though, will be necessary to garner that best fit and, of course, the necessary seal for the bass to really shine. I did not have the full retail box for the IAM, only receiving the case, cable, and the nozzle filters I showed you. The case, though, is awesome. Let me just put it into view. As seen in the BGVP Phantom, this case is a step above. Beautiful case. I do have 2 cables in here. One is the stock, one is the other. The cable also can use multiple tips. It's shipped with both 3.5 and 4.4 millimeters, so that's 3.5 inch single-ended and 4.4 millimeter balanced. This is the cable. Nice haptics, soft to the touch, easy on, easy off connector. Just a friction fit, though, not a snap fit. Very nicely done. Beautiful cable overall. Combined with the case, which I showed already, this is really a above board retail presentation. I love how the embossed branding with some decorations here. It is an oval size. It is larger than your typical case. Folks, this is something for less than $200 US. I've seen $1,000 IEMs come with a lot less in terms of functional, as I like to call it, functional retail presentation. So everything about the NS10 Pro screams quality. Sound. But how does all this sound? Let's get to it. There's a definite mid-bass prominence with excellent punchiness and speed. The detail retrieval here is notable, as well as texturing. This was heard on Massive Attack Angel, where the forcefulness of the bass was right on where it should be, combined with excellent texturing of the bass track itself was heard. Again, bass here is when the source calls for it. So let's continue. Sub bass, while not playing the leading role, can be powerful when the source material calls for it. Stella, by a guy called Gerald, had all the sub bass energy that the track requires, with excellent speed and control. Also notable was the natural sound of the low end. This was heard when listening to No Jive by DFAZ, the double bass coming through cleanly with a nice organic tone. This is not an IEM for bass heads though. Let me put that out of the way right there. The neutral bright tuning at times can set the bass back a bit in the mix with a more mid-prominent emphasis, in particular for mid-prominent tracks. The quality of the low end though, the quality of this bass is admirable, very good. But some who require their dental work to be rattled every time they listen to music will have to look elsewhere. In conclusion, at least with respect to the bass of the BGVP NS10pro is very good to these ears. It has on offer excellent speed and control while effectively relaying what's in the track with a commendable level of detail and texturing thrown in for good measure. Mid-range. The NS10pro has a more mid-forward tuning with exceptional clarity, all the while staying away from harshness. This really shows the prowess of the tuning here. You have a mid-forward which can be wrought with all kind of issues with respect to harshness, but the NS10pro, even at high volume levels, does not descend into this. Those who prefer a more tamed, calmer experience will have to look elsewhere. I'm not saying that it's excitable to the point of being a distraction. Absolutely not. But if you like a darker sounding IEM, this is not the one for you. Detail retrieval, both macro and micro, is exceptional, very well done. Listening to He's a Karaoke by Eden Atwood, I was pleased to hear details that have been obscured by a few of the earphones I'd recently heard, some costing way more than the NS10pro. Layering and separation is also well done with an openness of sound that is refreshing and, in my opinion, necessary for an IEM with this type of somewhat forward presentation to keep things sounding clean and uncongested. Transients were well relayed with sharp attack and natural fall off. Note weight was good, but better in the lower mid-range than the upper mid-range, which at some odd occasions came off as sounding less than full-bodied. Timbre is good, with occasionally a slight upward tilt in the upper mid-range noted. Treble. I'm getting ahead of myself. In conclusion, for the mid-range, the NS10pro has an engaging mid-range. I found myself often tapping my toes and listening to tracks I usually do not even play for IEM evaluations. I had it in my ears typing up a project for work, and I just found myself unconsciously tapping my toes and nodding my head. There is excellent clarity here, with a detailed and expansive sound that can really be satisfying. Treble. The treble is well extended with ample quantities of sparkle and air. As with the mid-range, the detail retrieval here is very good, with both macro and micro being present in abundance. While treble-sensitive people may be put off by the top-end energy, let's be honest here, BGVP have fashioned a treble with all of this energy, yet it still managed to be musical without harshness. Very well done. Probably the quality drivers used. And the tuning prowess, of course. At times, though, such as on Change Your Mind by Moonchild, a track I love, the bell sounds at the end of the track. Bing, bing. Sometimes they came over as having a little bit too much shimmer. But this was really track dependent, but it was noted. Better quality recordings definitely benefit from this type of tuning, while some poorly recorded tracks may come off as less than smooth. And this is what the NS10pro really, it's the blessing of it and its Achilles heel. If the track itself is very well recorded, you will be in for a great treat. Poorly recorded music, not as much so. I would say that it is fairly forgiving of less than well-recorded music, but less so than a few other IEMs I've recently heard. Imaging and Soundstage. The soundstage of the BGVP NS10 Pro is moderately large with notable depth and width. Imaging is solid, and instrument placement capabilities actually caught me off guard a few times with how pinpoint it can be. The NS10 Pro on better recordings is pleasantly engaging, and I found more satisfying with all kinds of music, in particular jazz, for example. When I said it was caught me off guard, what I mean is a track would play. I was listening to, for example, He's a Karaoke by Eden Atwood, and the placement of the instruments were pinpoint. It just sounded like it was coming from a moderately sized room. It really sounded, it had a natural kind of pinpoint accuracy to the imaging that was very pleasing. In conclusion, BGVP has an impressive IEM with the NS10 Pro. I had recently listened to the BGVP Phantom, and both are excellent products. If I can compare the two quickly, I don't have the Phantom on me, so where's my buddy? So I'll just bring in my buddy to represent the Phantom. The Phantom is even slightly more balanced. The high end of the BGVP NS10 Pro is a little bit more prominent. The Phantom also has sub bass, which is slightly more prominent. But in terms of quality sub bass, it's a toss-up. I really, really like the quality of the NS10 Pro. And while both IEMs are impressive, in terms of mid-range, they're very close. In terms of treble, I might give it a touch to the Phantom. It doesn't suffer from that excessive shimmer on certain tracks that the NS10 Pro could suffer from, but again, rare and really track dependent. That being said, I do have a soft spot for the NS10 Pro, in particular with my music library. At well under $200, the NS10 Pro offers a highly resolving and coherent sound with exceptional technicalities. BGVP has also done a standout job displaying their technical prowess with this IEM, which, with respect to tech, that being said, it's all about the sound in the end. This could be a single dynamic and sound better, but it doesn't. It's not a single dynamic. It's an 8+2. It's all about the sound, though. And on this front, BGVP again does marvelously. It is one of those IEM that the more I listen to it, the more I appreciate what it brings to the table. If you are in the market for an IEM with this type of tuning and technical ability, at this asking price, there are not that many, in my humble opinion, who could actually compete. The BGVP NS10 Pro gets a definite recommendation if you're in the market for this type of tuning and this type of quality. I want to thank you very much for spending time with me with this video. Continue to support the channel, looking for more subscribers. Please like and subscribe, tell your friends about it, and we hope to bring you, in the near future, more reviews. Looking forward to your comments and continued support. Take care, everybody. Thanks again. From Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us.